to Ticats today, August the 10th, Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us, Louie B, on the Ticats Audio Network. And the Ticats were back on the field at Tim Hortons Field, putting Thursday in the rear-view mirror as the attention now turns to Saturday night in Regina against the Rough Riders. Ticats, they took a few punches on Thursday night, but in the end, one round doesn't make a fight. Lots of time to turn things around for the Ticats. We had some bodies out there that we haven't seen. We'll wait for the official injury report coming out at 5 o'clock, and we'll break that down for you on tomorrow's show. But some encouraging news from the Ticats. Coach O is going to touch on that in just a couple of moments. We're going to hear from him. We're also going to hear from Kameron Kelly. He had his first CFL start on Thursday night, guy who bounced around in the NFL for a little bit up here in Canada now. We're grateful to have him with the Ticats, and we'll get his thoughts on playing his first professional Canadian Football League game. Looking forward to that. I had a chance to catch up with Caretaker Bob Young. Yes, the Ticats Caretaker Bob Young. He was out and about today. He was around the stadium, so I had a chance to connect with him. And that's going to be part of a larger conversation on a brand new podcast we're going to launch tomorrow with the Caretakers Update. So I'll play just a little clip of that for you. And he kind of explains what we're doing here with the Ticats Audio Network, why we're doing it. So I want to get that clip to you. And we'll also be joined by Bubba O'Neil, someone who's part of our Ticats Audio Network. We'll catch up with Bubba coming up later on the show as well. All right, mentioned it. Ticats first practice since Thursday. But if you ask Coach O, they're not really thinking about Thursday. It's all about Saturday, their opponent, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Here's what he had to say after practice today.
We played hard. I thought we hit well. I still stand by what I had mentioned after the game. Right? We got to clean up the penalties. Those cost us when we had opportunities to flip the field. And at the end of the day, we gotta find a way to take the ball away and put some more points on the board. Some great individual efforts. That doesn't mean that you win, right? So we got to find a way to get it done collectively. But definitely encouraged in some spots, but definitely some spots that we have to clean up. Well, we definitely are focused on Saskatchewan, but we're definitely not sweeping any challenges under the rug, right? If we have to hold back just a little bit to address, we will make sure that happens. At the same time, we won't dwell in the past. We definitely will be moving forward. Yeah, we're starting to heal a little bit. We gotta, you always wait and see how they feel after practice. So, always the tell all actually is in the morning when they report back to work. So definitely encouraged seeing some old fresh faces back out on the football field. At the end of the day, we'll be ready to go, whoever's out there. Well, it's really just, you can just really see it by who's out there, right? It's not something that you call a meeting and say, and they understand that this is professional football. Everybody knows that you're one play away, and every now and again you give them a reminder, but for the most part, this is just go out there and do what we're asking you to do, and do it to the best of your ability, and then we'll adjust the scheme around it.
That is head coach Orlando Steinauer as he spoke after practice today, and he mentioned it. I kind of hinted at it. I don't know anything for sure in terms of who was limited and who was a full participant, so we're going to wait for the injury report dropping at 5 o'clock. Coming up here, but I think there might be some surprises in terms of guys who are ready to go for Saturday, and some guys who might still be out of this Ticats lineup. Again, we'll wait for the official injury report. It'd be irresponsible of me to try and speculate from what I see on the 7th floor here at Tim Hortons Field. But what I can tell you is that Kameron Kelly had a great training camp, and you can kind of tell as he was inserted right into the lineup. Of course, he had a lot of experience playing in the NFL, played some games with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2019, but it was his first game in the Canadian Football League, and I wanted to know, as someone who has played in the NFL, what kind of differences he saw and his overall impression of the Canadian game, one game in.
It was a lot of fun. I like the fact that, it's only 3 downs, so like if you miss a play, you feel like you missed a play out there, or you feel like you dropped a pick, or you could have had some. You got to have a short memory. You get on the sideline and get right back out there, honestly, and try and go make up for it. So I like that aspect of it. And it actually was slower than I thought it was. So or than I thought it would be. So that was a plus. Oh yeah, it's tremendous. I mean, the help that those guys give us, the look that they give us every day, how hard they work, and our receivers are great. So even when our defense is on scout team, I try and get out there and get all the reps so I can go against our ones and stuff. Because especially coming from training camp and then going into the game, like I said, it's slowed down tremendously. So I know that's a test to those guys over there giving me that work every day. For me, it's made the transition easy, and the move with us is we're just trying to make plays. We want to win. Whatever we have this saying inside of our defensive room that regardless of what happens on the other side, we want to be +3 in the takeaways. So if we throw 3 picks on offense, we want to have 6 picks on defense. So that's just our mindset right now. Just trying to get better each and every day. Treat each practice like a game day and just prepare.
That is Kameron Kelly, defensive back for your Hamilton Tiger Cats. And overall, I think he played a pretty solid game. And I've kind of preached that throughout the training camp, throughout the first couple of weeks here, is that Ticats scout team, man, are they ever dangerous? Because there are a lot of guys on that scout team. There are a lot of guys on this practice roster who are real good players. And I'm sure we'll get their chance to showcase what they got on the field. You're listening to Ticats Today on the Ticats Audio Network. Louie B here with you. And on the subject of the Ticats Audio Network, I've had a couple of people reach out to me, a couple of people from across the league as well, just kind of in different circles. And they wanted to know, why are we doing this? What are we doing? And I think that's a question that is best asked to the owner of the Tiger Cats, the one who makes all the decisions. Of course, he doesn't like the term owner. He prefers the term caretaker. And caretaker Bob Young was in the stadium today, was around. Of course, COVID rules apply. So I waved from him from a distance and asked if he had a couple of minutes. And gracious with his time, he was able to give me more than a couple. I'm going to play just a little quick tidbit here. This is part of a bigger conversation that we'll be launching with the Caretakers Update podcast tomorrow. But here's just a little tidbit because, I wanted to ask him, I'm grateful for the Ticats Audio Network, but I wanted to ask him kind of where this all came from and why he's doing it. And he gave a pretty interesting response.
Well, Louie, I don't think I've used this line on you, but my job here with the Ticats has boiled down to really just one thing. We got smart guys like Doug Rye who do all our finances. We got Coach O who runs the football team. We got Scott Mitchell who runs the overall operation. So what do I actually do? And the answer to that question is my job, and it's a really tough one, is to take credit for all the hard work that everyone else in this organization does. And so, yes, I'll take credit for this brilliant digital podcast, but I don't deserve any of the credit. But I can explain why it's an important idea and why, Louie, you think of just us as our digital host, and I think of you as more important than Jeremiah Mazzoli for the future of the league and of the team. And it is because, and this as well as, and your listeners, our listeners know this as well as anyone else, which is that in the age of the internet, we consume everything digitally. And we insist on consuming it straight from the source. We don't have to go through a network who goes through an affiliate who goes through whatever. We want to get it straight from the Ticats. And that's what you are enabling our fans to do, is they're in the locker room, they're in the business office, and they're hanging out with you and me, getting the story as you and I make it up.
That is the caretaker, Bob Young. Do not call him the owner. I've made that mistake a couple of times. Do not call him the owner of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Of course, he prefers the term caretaker, and you gotta love the passion that he brings to his role. And of course, he's a Hamilton Tiger Cats fan first, which is always, a great thing to have in someone who's making the decisions for the team. You can catch our full conversation, that's Caretaker and myself, tomorrow A brand new episode of Caretaker's Update dropping on the Ticats Audio Network. And speaking of Ticats Audio Network, we are back on Saturday for the broadcast of the Ticats taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Myself and Andy Fantus will have the pregame show starting at 9 p.m. and then we'll hand it over to Bubba O'Neil and Mike Morreale filling in for JP and Luke this week. And very pleased to be joined by Bubba O'Neil right now. And Bubba, obviously Ticats were back on the practice field today. Were they focused on Thursday's game, or were they more focused on Saturday's opponent?
Well, I think you want to move on, especially as a fan, but I don't think that the coaching staff are going to do so. I think it's obviously the players, for them, a learning lesson. Again, I think this is pretty much the case for all teams in the CFL, win or lose week one. Haven't played a game in, 620 days, no preseason games, and that's key. Nothing to really guide upon what your offensive, defensive, and special teams work has been worth over the last month or so. So here's a gauging tool. I think in many ways, playing this Grey Cup champions will be a blessing for the Tiger Cats. And the fact that really you played the best in the game. And, there's that old saying in boxing about styles making fights. There's no doubt in my mind, and this is just a personal thing, that the Tiger Cats and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are two completely different teams, especially when it comes to offense. You're looking at a team that wants to ball control, grind out first downs. They're not flashy, where I think the Ticats can be all of those things. So in a physical battle, I don't think the Tiger Cats did very well. Offensive line, defensive line. So these are all the things that got exposed that the Tiger Cats and Orlando Steinauer and his coaching staff are going to work on, because I believe you're going to face a team that is in some ways very similar to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in their offensive attack. So I think at the end of the day, the world is not ending, right? It all is not lost. The Grey Cup is still going to be hosted in Hamilton, probably, and with the Tiger Cats in it, I believe so. So I think fans can cool down, but I think it was a big, and obviously the players were very disappointed. You saw their post-game remarks. I mean, you got Jalen Acklin saying we suck, right? And I think the coach, I think Orlando Steinauer pretty much said the same thing. So a big learning tool for this team, and I expect a big bounce back in week two.
I mentioned this earlier on the show, but it just seems like, to put this into, boxing perspective, like they got knocked down in the first round, but they got back up. And, now you got, X number of rounds to go. Let's call it 13 rounds to go here, long boxing fight. But was it almost better to get that punch in the mouth, maybe out of the way in that first game, get Brett back to earth, because now you know what you got to do to be better, for week two and beyond.
Absolutely. And this is what I'm saying here is that the coaching staff, hey, looking at film, win or lose, sometimes people forget that sometimes when you look at the film, when you win, there's lots to be exposed that were things that were done wrong, missed executions along the way. There is no perfect football game. So again, in a game like this, I'm sure that it was a little painful for some of the players, especially maybe on that offensive line. That's a young line that's coming through some injuries that, I think could help the Tiger Cats offense. And I would think one of the words we continue to hear, I think, from the Ticats was we couldn't get in a rhythm. And that was a very important thing offensively for this team that, for Jeremiah Masoli. And let's not forget, too, I mean, you got some fingers being pointed at him. He had not played a football game in 2 years. So extend what goes on with the pandemic pause. You're talking about a guy that's coming back from injury, but they could not get that offense into a rhythm. And I think that was because of certain blitz schemes and pressures that were coming along the way. And again, a young line that's very much different than 2019 that are learning to work together. How many times do we say this, Louie, that the most cohesive unit has to be the offensive line? And I think we will see some improvements there this week going into Regina.
Yeah, well said. Bubba O'Neil, CHCH, also a member of the Ticats Audio Network here with us. And Bubba, let's turn our attention now to Saskatchewan. Again, using the boxing reference, let's call it round two. Not stupid, silly to call it a must-win game, but you got to play better than you did in Winnipeg for sure.
I think you do. And again, now you've had, there's not so much for us, because I think in the Eastern Division, we know who the number one fan base is. We know where the toughest field is to play at, and that's Tim Hortons Field. There's an ongoing battle in the Western Division between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Saskatchewan Roughriders about where's the toughest place to play and who have the loudest fans. I'm ready to give that nomination to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So I think you're going to hear me in the broadcast say hostile environment a lot, because this is a very difficult place to play. And the BC Lions learned that in a hurry. The BC Lions, who are playing obviously this week against Calgary, they're going to learn in some ways, and I mean the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to learn that sometimes the most dangerous lead in the CFL is a 31-0 lead, because they nearly blew it, for crying out loud, to a very, I guess, fighting back BC Lions team. So they're going to want to play better in front of their home teams, in front of their home crowd. And I think this is going to be a tough one for the Tiger Cats. Again, execution is going to be tough. I think they're going to try and do the simulation of crowd noise here at Tim Hortons Field, that they're going to be able to execute audibles, that kind of stuff. But I think, again, game two, you've got some experience now. You've seen some of your weaknesses and some of the things that, that you did well, that you didn't do well. Plus, let's hope that you get some of those banged up bodies back. Big, important factor for the Ticats.
Yeah, I think that extra day off yesterday, and then, back on the practice field today, I think we're going to see continued improvement on that. You mentioned that you're going to be on the call on the Ticats Audio Network on Saturday night alongside Mike Morreale. I'm sure the prep has already started, but how excited are you to be calling the Ticats game this weekend?
Well, I haven't called a live Ticats game in some time, and I'm really excited. And the game has certainly changed from when I called those games. I think the benefit for me is I have Mike Morreale beside me. A guy that has done play-by-play for many years of this football team, a guy that's an outstanding player in his day. He'll be able to identify things. He'll be able to identify some of the difficulties that you do have on offense, playing in a hostile environment, playing in a big crowd, playing with a time change. Let's not forget that too, because remember, the Tiger Cats are going to travel to Winnipeg, back to Hamilton, then back on the bus and the airplane. So there's going to be some heavy travel here for this football team over the first 3 weeks before they host their first home game on Labor Day. So that's to be able to have a guy that's gone through that and be able to tell not only that to us, but to the viewers and listeners as well too. I think that's going to be a real interesting broadcast and a lot of fun Saturday night. Where else would you rather be than on the Ticats Audio Network there, Louie? I ask you that question right now.
Well, there's nowhere else I would rather be, and there's nowhere else I will be, because, of course, Andy Fantuz and I will have the pregame show starting at 9. We'll pass off to you. Bub's looking forward to seeing you on Saturday night. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and we're certainly looking forward to what's going to happen on Saturday night. And tell me, this Ticats Audio Network, this is a great idea. I'm so pleased with what the upper guys came up with. This is a great thing for our Ticats fan.
My thanks to Bubba O'Neil for joining me this afternoon, and my thanks to you as well for spending some time of your day to listen to me talk about the Ticats. This has been Ticats Today. We're back again tomorrow. I'm Louie B for the Ticats Audio Network, hoping you have a great day.